All right, everybody. What's up? What's up? What's up? Y'all already know it's Sunday. Y'all know what Sunday is. It is podcast day. Besides you serving the Lord on the day, it's also podcast day. All right. So I'm your girl, Jackie Johnson.
And I am LQ.
Woo-hoo. And y'all know what it is. Thank you for joining my Sister and Me LLC for Sister Conversations in Black. Hey, today we are in episode 11, which will be a 3-part series entitled, are y'all ready for this? The Agenda. Now, I just want to say we're going to go a few places here with the agenda. As you can see, my tag is fighting for the family. My sisters is examine what is said, not who is speaking. Ooh, wise words, very wise words. All right, so this is juicy. It's going to be a 3-part series. So obviously we have a lot of information to share and go through. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my sis, and she's going to kick us off as usual, and then we're going to get down to it.
Thank you. So as my sister said, this is about the agenda. The agenda is the breakdown of, we care about every race, but the breakdown of the Black family, and how that came about. And so if you have any questions, comments, opinions that you want to be able to share, you could go ahead and send them in a message box to my sister and me. You can also, I believe Jackie is looking at the comments on Facebook, so you can also write them in the Facebook live stream. And then we also have a YouTube channel, My Sister and Me LLC. It is on YouTube. We also have a website, so please feel free to leave your comments, your questions, your concerns, your opinions, what we could have done better according to you. Leave that in there. We're not the type to be closed-minded. We will consider everything that people have to say, may not do everything people have to say, but consideration is the key. Anyway.
Right.
So I heard that. We heard that. You need to mute. So anyway, yes, it's the Black agenda. So first and foremost, we're going to start off from different points. I would like to start with where I'm like, I want to go is, I just want to hit you with something that's a current day event. My sister may go further back. I also have further back information as well. She also has current events. So we're going to tag team. Okay. But I think that it's very important for you all to know this starting out the gate. Okay. We know that the enemy is the founder of the breakdown of the Black family. Boom, out the gate. We know that. Okay. Now moving forward to current day events with this administration and the administration that just left. Okay. I want to introduce you to someone. Her name is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her name is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not the founder, but somewhat of the push, the person behind the push of the America First Caucus. The America First Caucus. The America First Caucus is an initiative brought upon by the GOP, which is the Republican Party, after Trump's departure from the White House, to facilitate America First, meaning white only, white first, Caucasian only. Inside of this agenda, they have written detail, almost like the Lynch letters, Willie Lynch letters. They have written detail as to what they are planning to do. And as far as Hispanic Americans go, you think that this may not apply to you. As far as Asian Americans go, You think that this doesn't apply to you. As far as any other Americans that are not Anglo-Saxon go, and you think that this doesn't apply to you, they have included you inside of this bill. The way that they have included you, because they said anyone who is not of Anglo-Saxon descent. Anglo-Saxon descent, in layman's terms, is white. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to distance herself from some parts of this bill. However, she is still pushing the initiative to make this an Anglo-Saxon America. After the podcast, I will post this on my page, on my Facebook page, and even to my sister and me if you would like the reading material. But just some small points to point out for you in this bill so that you are aware. Because even though they've broken the Black family down, they are now going for complete destruction. I need you to know the entire agenda is to completely wipe out the race. So we're not just talking about what has happened. We need to be speaking on what is to come. This agenda is to wipe out the whole race, okay? They have a social policy that applies to you. They have an electoral reform, which we have already seen started in the state of Georgia with the pullback on the way Black Americans can vote, or people of color, not just Black, or people that live below poverty lines. They have an immigration paragraph in this, which I want to read to you. Just 1 second. Because you think this doesn't apply to you, but my friend, it applies to anyone who is not of Anglo-Saxon descent. I don't know if you all can still see me. I don't know, but I need to read this. And then I'll turn it back over to you, sis, but this is important. The immigration portion of this, it's not a bill yet. This is the initiative that the GOP, Republican Party, is pushing for, okay? The America First Caucus recognizes that our country is more than a mass of consumers or a series of abstract ideas. America is a nation with a border and a culture strengthened by common respect for uniquely Anglo-Saxon political traditions. That's all I'm gonna read to y'all, because that's all you need to know. Anglo-Saxon political traditions. Where did it say Asian American? Where did it say Hispanic American? You think this is just for African American? Do you think this is just against Black American? This is against all minorities of color that do not want to be a part of their Anglo-Saxon traditions. What's an Anglo-Saxon tradition, you might ask? Slavery, Willie Lynch, indentured servants, working for below the means of which they could provide for their families. People think, oh, I wasn't a slave, I was an indentured servant. You were still a slave working for 2 cents on the dollar when you made the company $2 a bushel. And you're working for 2 cents for 3 weeks of labor. But I have more on that. Sis, I'm gonna turn it back over to you because I know you got another perspective. We're gonna bounce back and forth, but remember, examine what is said, not who is speaking. Don't be in my business, listen to the information.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good kickoff. My sister just literally gave you a political standpoint of how our family and our culture and our people are being broken down, and targeted for annihilation. I gave you the political side of that. Okay. They are boldly, boldly, no longer hiding their white agenda. Okay. Because Anglo Saxon is just a very sophisticated way to say white, and white supremacy at that. But they're boldly coming out with their agendas. And you know why? Because they feel so comfortable to do so. There is very little accountability. I want to deal with, in particular, the annihilation attempt of the Black male, specifically in part one, is what I would like to deal with. And I want to deal with this because in our current climate, and in so many climates before even this moment, we are continually witnessing the modern day lynching of Black men, young and old, publicly. When I see the murder of another Black man, another Black boy on social media, on TV, on the news, it reminds me of back in those times in the Jim Crow South, where they would dress up as if this was a full event and watch the lynching of Black men. It is the same thing. It's just being done in a more modern way. And the reality is they're not doing that because of what our Black men or Black young men are doing. They're doing that because the enemy that is operating through them understands something very significant, that the man is the head of the home. And if you take the head out of the home, you leave the rest of the home to struggle through the rest. Let's be clear. They don't just want our men. They want us all, but if they kill off our men first, they feel like the rest of us, the women and children, are easy targets. As my sister just even read to you with the political climate, they're not just targeting Blacks. They are targeting anyone who is not Anglo-Saxon. And this brings me to a point that I know many of our cultures struggle with so many differences across the board. Like when we're witnessing all of these Black murders, you have some people who are of other nationalities who are still considered minorities who side with the Anglo-Saxon person. They think, oh, they deserve it. They think, oh, well, if they would just get a job. They think that we're all criminals. They think we're all troublemakers. And the reality is they've grouped you with us. They think you're barbarian. They think that you have come over here to their country and you need to go back to where you come from. Mm-hmm. Those are the thoughts they have for you. But you better understand that the enemy is strategic. He's going to take his strongest opposition out first. Mm-hmm. They're not threatened by the Asian community. They're not threatened by the Mexican community. They're not threatened by other minorities. They're threatened by Black people. Because historically and traditionally, not only have we bucked against their system, but we have risen and overridden their system and fought for our freedoms. Okay? So what they're trying to do is eliminate their strongest threat. If you're playing a game of war and you have 3 opponents, you take out the strongest opponent first. So we may be first, but if they succeed in annihilating us, they're coming for every other minority after that. And so, again, regardless of how you look at this, if you look at it politically, if you look at it socially, even if you look at it economically, the reality is we are endangered. And if we do not come to some places of understanding, if we do not come to a place of unity And if we do not get a strategic plan in place, we're going to find ourselves victimized all over again, fighting all over again just to have everyday normal rights. And so this is something that really bothers me. But again, it's more than just naturally and politically. There's a spiritual underline that I won't even touch on this podcast. But if you are a spiritual person, you understand that there are things that work behind the scenes as well. And the reality for me is, if you take away the Black man, you create deficits in the Black family. And that's trickled down to the sons. If the father is removed from the home, the son does not have, or let's say this: if the father is removed from the home, or if the father is in the home but he is not a healthy, productive part of the home, then you now have a son who does not know how to be a father or a husband or the man that he is supposed to be, which he is now up to let anybody raise him, whether it's TV, whether it's the culture, whether it's music. Somebody is raising him. Somebody is giving him ideology of men. And I'm sorry, but the agenda right now against our men, if they're not flat out murdering them, they are emasculating them. They are doing so many things to uproot the authority and the strength of the man, because the man is primarily, his functions were to protect, provide, and to lead his family. If I take the man out, if I emasculate the man, or if I make him dysfunctional and not understand his role and authority, you have now taken away the protection, the provision, and the leading of the family. And that's when we have these strong Black women, that y'all like to call us, that now have to step up and do their job and attempt to do a portion of the job that was always meant for somebody else to do. And we wonder where the inadequacies and the shifts and the different things that are happening are coming from, because you're taking and killing our men. And some of y'all ain't been taking and killing, you just quitting on the job. You allowing the culture, you allowing everything. And that's a form of emasculation as well. But it's not someone else emasculating you, it's you emasculating you. So there's so many different attacks against the Black man because he's the head of the family.
Well, let's talk about that, though.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the attacks on Black man. You said something. You said taking the Black man out of the household. That's what you said. So let's go back a little bit. I'm not going to go as far back as, the Bible, but let's just go back to Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson had what he called the Great War on Poverty. The Great War on Poverty started about somewhere in the early 60s, where America was 19%. There was a poverty rate of America, 19%. Okay. Lyndon B. Johnson said, we need to do a war on poverty. Hence, he brought in welfare. And I know you were going to touch on this too, sis. He brought in welfare.
Yep.
He brought in the Economic Opportunity Act. Mm-hmm. It created community action programs. The Food Stamp Act of 1964 was created. We didn't have food stamps. I know y'all think that food stamps been around forever. They only been around since 1964. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act also started in 1964. And Social Security Act started in 1965 with Medicare and Medicaid. I know that's hard to believe. We didn't have this stuff before then. This is the destruction of it's welfare in it. It helped to ruin Black communities. Let me say it that way. It helped to ruin Black communities because of social welfare programs. Many of you know You could not have a man in the house if you received welfare. They would come to your house and check to see if you had a man living there. You had to live, if you were going to receive their housing, and it's still this way today. If you were going to receive their housing, you had to live in certain areas. Your children had to go to certain schools. It's still this way today. Over 50 years later, and we are still living the Welfare Act of 1964. But here's the thing about the Black community. It was in place, set out to destroy us. You can look this up statistically. There are more other people on welfare now than there are Black.
Mm-hmm.
They will not tell you this.
Yep, they like to portray it like it's Black people abusing the system, but there are more of others, as she said. Look the statistics up, they're available.
Yeah, they will not tell you this, but it was a problem because prior to welfare, even in slavery, the Black family, unless ripped apart by Anglo-Saxons, chose to stay together. Look at the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
You had people that were together years and they stood. Once welfare hit, it was a done deal. A done deal. Sis, you want to add to that? Because I know you have some points on that subject.
Yeah, no, I did. I wanted to talk about that because number one, everything that you just said with them checking to see if you had a man in your home and stuff. And if you go back and check, they didn't do that to whites who received welfare. They didn't go to their homes and do personal checks to see if the man was in the home. They only did it to Blacks. That should have told you that they were deliberately trying to tear apart the Black family. Okay. Somebody said in the chat, without us, they would not have jobs for middle class. So, you know, so much can be said about this, y'all. But the reality is we want people to start looking at the intention, like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So even with the home checks, so now, like you're telling the father of your children, you can't find work right now. I need help from them. You can't be in the house. Because we don't know when they're going to pop up. Like, so the family is literally breaking down now. And guess what? This is coming also from an inadequacy because he can't provide. She needs the money. Okay? He can't provide. She needs the money. So she tells him, you can't be in this house. I need the money.
So the United States of America has become your baby daddy.
Come on now. Say that.
I hate to say it like that.
Say
but the United States of America has become your baby daddy. And you allowed him.
And even as the years have gone by, this is why they're in your business.
Your baby daddy.
This is why they're in your business. If you have ever had to use welfare at any point in your life, which I definitely have, but when I tell you that the goal was to get off of it, the goal was to get off of it and not need them. And I'll be real with you, they make it hard for you to get off of it. Because the moment you get a job, they snatch everything from you. It's like they don't want you to be, they don't want you to become self-sufficient. They don't want you to be free and not need them. Same thing with Section 8 and low-income housing.
Go there, girl. They keep you. Don't go there because it's the mindset of women. I'm coming down this block. It's the mindset of women that don't want to get off Section 8 because they don't want their rent to go up. They don't want to get a better job because they don't want their rent to go up. And they think that they live in a good life because you got Section 8 and you got 2 or 3 or 4 bedrooms in this Section 8 house. They can snatch it whenever they want to, sis.
Yeah, and if you don't follow their rules, if you lie about your income, if you lie about how many people in that house, it don't matter. anything that violates that contract is a breach, and they can snatch it from you, and you are left to pay what you need to pay. Okay.
You know
And
what
when
the United States has done? They have conditioned us to an emergency rescue way of life,
oh,
where we no longer depend on one another, which is the way it was before was brought over here. They have conditioned us to no longer depend on one another and to depend on them. It's called emergency rescue way of life. I've conditioned your mind to think that I am the only one that can bail you out of certain circumstances.
Well,
not your man.
Wow.
Ooh,
And
like
now that, wait a minute now that triggers something too when you said that, because now here it is as well. This also creates a condition in the Black woman. Okay. Okay, because now she is feeling the pressure of having to provide financially, having to take care of the home, having to take care of the children. Guess what? She no longer needs you. You understand what I'm saying?
Woo.
And here's the thing, because, and I'm not talking about every Black man, some Black men was like, no, we ain't taking that, we staying together, and they got out there and hustled every day to take care of their family. But I'm gonna tell you something, that's also where the epidemic of our men selling drugs came in at as well. Because they were like, I'll do what I gotta do to protect my house and take care of my home, because we're not getting split up for no welfare. You understand what I'm saying? And if they did not have the education or the training to get good paying jobs, they resorted to the streets. I'm talking about back then, Black men
and now
who were selling drugs. I don't know necessarily that there's a whole breed left like that now, because now it's all about the money. It's all about the cars and the women.
Oh, okay.
But back then, it really started as a way of desperation to provide for their families. Okay. Then we also have the birth of the Black Panther Party, who came shortly after, and they began feeding their children. They began doing community things to try to assist. So they were trying to keep the Black man in the home, because they recognized that that was a crucial part of community.
Yep.
It's not just about having that man in your home. It was the stronger families you had, the stronger the community bonds were, because it was just a community of families. When you have a bunch of broken families, you typically don't have a community feel and setting, because everybody is busy looking out for themselves or stressed trying to handle the things that they are trying to handle. And if you're somebody with a lot of responsibility on your plate, you don't have time to worry about the community. You're worried about you and your household. So it really affected different areas. And somebody in the chat said, you are right, here in the South, I have white and mixed race in my family, and there were no house checks for them. So that's what we were saying. They only did those house checks for the Black family, trying to make sure that they kept the man out of home. Know
that today, only 44% of Black children have a father in the home.
Whew.
2021, 44%. 44% of Black children have a father in the home. Black out of wedlock births went from 24% in 1964 to 70% by 1994.
Wait a minute. You can't drop bombs like that and keep moving. Wait a minute. So in 1964, when this first started, there was how many percentage? What was the percentage of wedlock birth? And this is outside of marriage births.
It was 24%, and a lot of those out of wedlock births came from incest. You know, the daughter was molested. The father was killed during slavery or something, or prior to, or the father went off to war and was killed there. I don't want to say slavery, because by then, you know, slavery was supposed to be abolished. However, they were still lynching them.
Right.
while women were pregnant.
Right.
Okay, so that is a fact. Black women was making babies by the truckload, and so they men was being lynched while they were making babies. So you have to look at those factors. Black men were not running away from their family until the welfare system was created. Now you may have had some that did it based on
Very few.
war, never came home,
Very few.
whatever they struggled with, but few. That was 24%. By 1994, it had risen to 70%.
Jesus. 70. Wow. That's a whole 54% increase
Okay. And now
because of
we're
the
in
welfare
2021.
system.
Because of the welfare system. And let me tell you why they got afraid. And now all of a sudden they want to cut some of these programs. I'm going to tell you why. Because initially it did only affect us.
Mm-hmm.
But today it's spread to the working class white family.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared. They are afraid because it's no longer. Now, I will say this, there are Black women that are still having babies out of wedlock. It's still high. The number is still at 70 and above today. But it's not because of the welfare system. It's because of mind conditioning.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But imagine this, being raised up on the welfare system conditions your mind. Everybody gets, if you were raised in a welfare system, your parent was on welfare, you lived in low income housing, and you don't break the cycle, then you raise your kids on welfare in low income housing, and the cycle continues. So that is a form of conditioning. That is normal for you because that is your environment. If you live in a project, everybody in the project's on welfare. Everybody in the projects that lived in the projects for 10 years. Like, it is a way of life and it becomes your conditioning of mind. And I can say that because I live in the projects. I was raised by a woman who lived in a project. And so it is a mind condition. But I determined when I found God, I determined that I was going to do something different for mine.
Yeah.
Okay. I had children. I was married. I did that, whatever. God help me, messed up and all, but I still was trying to create something I did not have. A father for my children, a mom and dad in a home. My children have never lived in poverty or in the hood or in projects, never. Because it was something that I was determined not to allow touch them. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I want to really deal with, because you said something in what you just evaluate, the conditioning of the women has helped with the increase of the wedlock, but also feeling like you don't need a man for nothing but sex. Of course, you're having babies out of wedlock, because if you're having sex unprotected, you're getting pregnant. Okay. And a lot of women with that mindset, they have babies to keep the welfare money rolling, to keep the programs rolling. Understand what I'm saying? The baby now becomes their money. Okay. Sad to say it, but it is. And then on the other side of that, if you don't feel any worth for that man, what use do you have of marrying him? You understand what I'm saying? So women are not Black women have not been desiring to get married to a man because they have been let down by men. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have that confidence or even believe, or sometimes they don't even believe they are worthy of a man who will come in, work, and take care of it. It's like, it's foreign. And even when you talk to Black women, even nowadays, about the man being the head of the household, the man's job being to protect and provide, and and they're like, girl, please, that don't exist no more. What man you know like that? You understand what I'm saying? Like, so these things contribute to that. And I'm not gonna lie, like, the stuff that I have gone through in marriage has made me question, like, are there any men out here for real? Like, because you said something real strong, sis, and I want to bring this point out. We have men who were raising their families in slavery times, who were at risk of being lynched every day of their life while they were out trying to provide, while they were out just walking with their family, trying to protect them, while they were at church on Sunday. Those men were at risk of being murdered every single day, but they still provided, protected, and led their families. They didn't run off. They didn't abandon them. That was hard. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Men today, they want to die and they just got to go to work.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, but that's not a coincidence either, sis, because when they started doing what they did with us, taking the men out of the house, our mindset started changing, but the man's mindset started changing too.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't give him a family and a wife to work for and do all these things for, he's free to do what he want to do. So now you got that one man who just want to be free, who just want to sleep with who he want to sleep with, be with who he want to be with, no commitment involved. Like the mindset shifted for both parties.
Well, yes. And also with that mindset came the strong Black woman complex.
That's what I'm saying.
In the 21st century, Black women are high earners. Like, I mean, we're high earners. There are some of us that are high earners. There are some Black women that choose not to date or marry below their earnage or below the guidelines of where they have or of where they've achieved. And so they are choosing to be unwed but still have a baby. Why is it that the Black woman doesn't want to date or marry Black men that work or earn less than them? There is a huge gap. Okay, let me just give you some tips. Y'all know I'm a fat girl, but there's a huge gap for white men earning $40,000 to $74,000 as white women. But there is even more of a gap for higher earning Black women than Black men. There is a huge gap between us as far as gender. If you are a high earning Black woman, you're gonna earn more than your man. Unless it's somebody in the corporate world or a doctor, a lawyer, you're gonna earn more than your man, which is why many women turn to drug dealers. Let's just break this thing down, because when we talk about that, we have to also include the factor of income, earning power, and we also have to include the fact of institutionalization and the mass incarceration of Black men, which we've got statistics on that too. But there are women that, and in turn, the reason that they're choosing to not be dedicated or marry these men is because when you indeed get with a drug dealer, which I learned a very long time ago, and a man taught me this, I learned a lot of stuff from men, that when you date a drug dealer, you better automatically assume that he has more than one woman.
Can I say something though, sis? Before you even go down that lane.
The earning, economic earning.
Yes. So I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
That goes back again to the effects and the conditioning that Black men and Black women have now adapted as a ripple effect of that welfare system and all of that. Is because, again, let's go back. When that man was the provider, the protector, the leader, he might have worked all day for pennies and brought that home, and his wife did what it did. Okay.
Mhm.
Now that's the foundational Black man we're talking about, right? The
Sure.
Black man after the welfare system, when they were forced out of the
After
home.
the 70s. Yeah.
This man now may have had some type of work ethic,
Yeah.
but not as strong as that foundational one, right?
But you also didn't have high earning Black women that much in the 70s, as you do
Exactly.
now.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, here's the thing: you didn't have high earning Black men either. They were still working
Right.
hard for pennies, basically.
Unless they were high earning as pimps, hustlers.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you see what I'm saying? Okay. So, but again, the conditioning that
Yeah.
our women, and you know, that we're like, hey, if you ain't making no real money,
Yeah.
I don't need you. I don't want you. But you
Yeah.
still laying down with them having babies that
Because sex is good.
you're letting welfare
Yep.
take care of for pennies. The
The
same
sex is good
pennies,
to them.
the
Mhm.
same pennies he could have made working,
Yeah. Mhm.
you rejected him and you took them same pennies from welfare to kick him out of the home, still having babies with him. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like the dysfunction of it all.
But see, let's go there, because then you wonder why didn't he pick me? I'm a career woman. I'm this, I'm that. Why didn't he pick me? There's something within his mindset in the first place where he may feel inadequate, whether it's based on what you've done or said, or it's just a mindset because of the earning potential. So you wonder, why would he pick, and I ain't trying to shade nobody, but why would he pick a lower level earning woman, female?
You know what? And I want to go there. I want to go there.
We'll go there. Because I'm just asking.
No, this is good. This is good. And I think we need to hit this because I know people feel it. But you know what? The more I think about it, you know why I think they gravitate to those women? Because sometimes the career woman, she begins to develop these standards that it's like, if you ain't got A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, you can't come over here.
Standards is good too.
Yeah, some standards. Hear me,
Yeah.
like, you want to have standards, but you don't want to be like unrealistic. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So then you have this other set of women who's sitting at home, living off welfare. She may or may not be a good mom to the children, but she's at home. She's raising that child. You typically know where she is. I'm gonna be honest with you. The allure of the Black man is to feel needed, because his job was to protect, his job was to provide, and his job was to lead. If you take away those things, do he really want a woman he is not going to feel like he can do that job with? And there's some very great lines here, but I'm gonna tell you, he may not even really want to do all of those jobs. You understand what I'm saying? But because she is, and I don't want to say because she's not it, but she is a resemblance of what it's supposed to look like. So
here's the bad part though. The bad part of that is this. You are over there because she makes you feel needed. You automatically assume that the woman with standards could not make you feel needed because of your very own.
But that's the inadequacies that he's dealing with. But there's also inadequacies that career woman is dealing with as well, which is why she puts all these up standards. Because in her mind, she thinks because she makes more, he's not going to be able to deal with that. A lot of women, and that's why a lot of women who are career women don't date men who work at McDonald's or Speedway or blah, 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 because they have a preconceived notion, just like that man, that he would not be able to match her. He would not be able to handle that. You understand what I'm saying? So there's preconceived notions on both sides, and there is inadequacies that both of them develop. And this is really where the breakdown is. And so, yeah, but no, I wanted to talk about that because that's
Well, listen, I'm gonna be real. Yo, you, some of the men can put it in the comments. I'm a career woman. Facts. Okay. I make enough. And because you don't discuss, but I make enough. And I take care of my household. I have standards. I mean, I'm not like, you ain't got to walk on water, but I got standards. I just feel like sometimes because of the breakdown mentally, because of what they've done to us, it's a condition of the mind where you automatically assume that, no, she wants too much. You don't know what I want.
But I think the problem is, and this is why I love that we're doing this as a series, is because just what you said, like I too am a career woman with very very high standards. But I also am a traditional woman.
Right.
I believe in the husband working. I would love to stay home and
you
take care of my children. And like, I don't want to be a career woman. I'm a career woman because I have to be. I don't want to be. You understand what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, the lack of communication breakdown, you'll never know that. Like she just said, if you don't talk to me or approach me or whatever, you'll never know that about me. You'll never know that. You'll never know.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you. Do they communicate that?
They don't communicate, period.
There you go. There you go. Because how many Black women that are career women that you and I both know that will take a man working at Popeyes?
I'm gonna be honest, I know a couple.
Me too.
The rest of them bougie as hell. I ain't gonna lie.
Them too.
The rest of them like, they like, he gotta have this kind of hard, he gotta have his credit score gotta be like, they like that. I'm not that. I'm not that. But I think I'm not that because I have a healthy understanding of the family dynamic and I believe in the family dynamic. So for me, I don't give a hoot nanny in Harlem where you work, as long as you're working, because I am a help me. I can get in and help. What I can't do is carry it by myself.
Yeah. You know, I spoke about this with someone in great detail, actually two people, about the breakdown of the Black family and the agenda. And one of the things that was discussed, I'm going to be honest with you, and some men may not agree with this, but you really got to listen to them in order to hear. I have talked to men about this subject, and they do, a lot of men unconsciously blame women.
Absolutely.
Black women. They will tell you that they don't, but they really do.
They do.
When you listen to them, they have a bias against Black women in some areas.
Absolutely.
And I ain't trying to shade nobody. I'm not even gonna say no names. And just if you're watching, I'm not only talking about you. There are several men that I've spoken to that have this idea about the Black woman in some areas because of their experiences. My only job, our only job, is to listen. Okay. So I recognize that you have those biases, and I understand that that's what you believe. But let me just say this, and this is after the Bible. I truly, truly believe, and we all know this, that the breakdown of the Black family started during slavery and the capture of people being torn away from their families, from the land of their original creation. They tore them away from their bloodline. Okay. And anytime I had one gentleman say to me that the Black woman saw her man being, buck breaking and all of these things things happening to him, and things were happening to her too. And it was almost like I ain't got nowhere to go but to Master. But Master was never a choice, not even Master. It was never a choice. It was forced upon us. But that's where the beginning of the breakdown of it in the natural started with the Black family. So then we're brought over here after we're ripped from our homeland, and we're brought over here. And some people will say, well, we were already here because we're blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, that's debatable. But in this sense, there were some that were brought over here. And then what happened? If you had a child, your child was ripped from you. If they were a certain age, the husband's ripped from you, the child ripped from you.
Yep.
Okay.
But they understood even then. They understood even then the family was too powerful together. That's why they immediately separated them. They immediately separated them.
That's the point that I was making.
They understood. But I want to go ahead, sis. But I do want to touch on what you just touched on, the fact that Black men blame Black women. I really want to deal with this. I really want to deal with this because we have a culture that is turned on each other. You understand what I'm saying? You have the Black man blaming the Black woman, and you have Black women blaming the Black man. And I'm gonna be real with you. The reality is, Black women, we are strong and we carry loads not because we want to, but because you left it on us to carry. And let's just be real about a Black woman. She will try to operate in the family dynamic. If that man leaves, if that man runs from his responsibility, she is left holding the bag. Yeah. A Black woman is not about to break down and cry and lay there and die. She is going to figure the stuff out because she recognizes that she has these children that are still depending on her. That makes us evolve. Whether that's going to school to get some type of degree or whatever, we're starting a business, whatever we got to do, we're going to do for the sake of our survival and our children's survival. Then men in turn get angry and say she is controlling. She want to be that man. Y'all will say all this different stuff about that woman when all she did was pick up your slack when you dropped it. And instead of loving her, instead of being sorry that you left her with a bag, you start hating on her. You start dogging her like she wanted to be your head, like she wanted to do that. And I'm talking about in the church and everywhere else. When you don't have the man step up to do the role God ordained him to do, and you leave that woman to do what, because you don't even think about what she gonna do when you decide you don't want to be a man no more, or a husband or a father no more. You don't even think about her. You don't even think about what she got to carry emotionally, naturally, financially. You don't care, because in that moment you just care about what you want, and then she's left with the emotional, spiritual, natural, financial bag, and also these children now to provide for. And then y'all wonder, y'all walk around talking about the strong Black woman, this independent woman. Like y'all start acting like we're enemies. Like we just so anti the order of God. No, many of us still believe God, husband, wife, children. Many of us still believe that. But if we ain't got that in our existence, it's God, me, and these kids, bro. So when you step to a woman like that, unless you're the kind of man who's willing to step in your place and you're willing to say to her, I know you have been left with this bag. I know you have been left with this burden, but I'm a real man who understands my role, and I am willing to do this, and I am willing to step in this place, and I'm going to show you, not just tell you I'm going to do it. A woman will give you a shot. She will give you a shot. But because you have bought into the angry Black woman syndrome, some men will just square off Black women. I don't want a Black woman. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it becomes that. Or, because I mean, I see a lot of men who will abandon their families and run off and get some woman from another race.
All right.
And I'm sorry, that's just a piece. Of course, that's not every man. Some
Yeah.
Black men is just like, I don't care how many times it don't work, I'm fine, your sister. Like, you know what I mean? Because they recognize the strength, they recognize who she is. But what I'm saying is, Black men, stop dropping the ball. Stop sitting down, laying down, and then you get mad because your woman stand up. It's not in us to let the family fail. We were always designed to help.
Yeah.
So if you step out of the way, we can do what you do. We're gonna step up because we can't let the family fail. It ain't that we trying to outshine you or outdo our men. No, we still loving you, hoping you get it together, like talking to our brothers and trying to make sure they don't do the same things. Like, we're here nurturing our men still, but nobody's here nurturing and protecting us.
Yeah.
So we got every other race coming at us crazy, and now we got our own men coming at us crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I can hear you getting passionate, sis.
This is very near and dear to my heart, because I see every other race stick together. I see white men that will protect Charlene. They're gonna protect Charlene. Sherry, get behind me. Like, they're going to protect their family. And don't get me wrong, no race of men is just perfect and don't do stuff. But baby, they don't leave a family unit unprotected. They may have 2 or 3 families. Because honey, Mexicans will have 2 and 3 families. But baby, when I tell you they're gonna protect them, they're gonna provide for them. And to see our men that we're constantly weeping over, praying over, we will get in between a bullet. It ain't even gotta be our son. Let me see a young Black boy.
Yeah.
Cops is on him. Baby, I'm there. Because it may not be my son, but it could be my son.
Yeah.
So you got a whole race of Black women that are trying to protect our men, and it's our men's job to protect us. And then you turn on us like everybody else and talk bad about us. We got attitude problems. We too strong. We ain't feminine enough. Well, if you would step up, Negro, and be a man, we could be who we supposed to be. So, and that is what I'm talking about. This is why this is very personal for me, because I see so many other Black women who are dealing with that too.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to see, sis. It's hard to see.
It's very difficult, and it affects all of us, especially being Black women who want to see the growth of a Black man and want to see Black families together. Ways to combat this. You know, I'm going to give one way this week, because this is a 3-part series here. But corrective action, because we don't just want to talk about the issues and what has happened to break down the Black family, but we want to talk about corrective action as to how we can rebuild. And so corrective strategies, remedies for this deep-rooted problem. In my personal opinion, and please feel free to comment or even send us messages, I believe that one of the ways to stop tearing the Black family apart is to stop teenage pregnancy. And dysfunctional or functional illiteracy. What do I mean? Because white kids have babies every day. White children, Anglo-Saxon children do have babies every day. but then their family steps in to help them take care of that baby. They don't necessarily get on. I'm gonna go there. Somebody ain't gonna like it. Our and they get on welfare. Family come in to help you take care of them, but you definitely gonna take them down to the aid office and show them how to apply for some food stamp and that. Weird form of help. So you could say, oh, but LQ, you know, white kids, white teenagers, you know, you see it all the time. They but their parents, grandparents, and the family steps in together and they help to take care of that child. Whereas the Black family, yeah, you're gonna babysit, you're gonna cook for them, they may even live with you, but you definitely gonna get that daughter on a case. And you may not even promote marriage because they're young. So for somewhere down the line, the mindset has changed where you can be a teenager and have a baby, but be a teenager and not be married. We don't promote marriage. And I'm not talking about anybody particular. If you take it personal, then that's on you. But we don't promote marriage when our teenagers get pregnant. There's they having a baby, they together, but as teenagers, you're not saying let's get married as back in the South, back in the day. Okay, Black people's like, you gonna marry her. You gonna marry her.
Yeah.
But nowadays, they're not doing that. The teenagers can just have babies.
Yeah.
And that's it.
They
and
push for them to be a family. It's like you're starting a family, so you're ready to be a family, right? So
right,
yeah,
no.
and not now.
But no, what they do is they take the daughter downtown to put her on a case. I'm just gonna be real. I don't care who gets paid. You know, took your child downtown, put her on a case. Now she get Medicaid, food stamps, and some welfare. Now we're talking about putting back together the Black family. Teenage pregnancy, we need to be monitoring. If you get mad, get off of my sister and me, and you don't want to be my friend no more, I don't care. But I got teenagers, and ain't now one of them walking up in here pregnant without me telling them you don't need to be getting knocked up. And I got 3 girls at the end of the day, 14, 16, and 18. If they choose to walk about this house and get pregnant, it's because they chose to not take the wisdom of their mother and earn gaining power and potential and to put themselves in a position where they can take care of another human being, period. Now, you don't like me, I don't care. I'm sick of people not liking me because of what I say. I'm sick of it.
I don't care. You know I don't care.
I'm so sick of it, sis. I am so sick of it. At the end of the day, it is not okay for your child, 13 and 14 and 15 and even 16, to be walking around here pregnant and making babies.
Yep.
Unfriend me.
Yep.
Unfriend me. I don't care.
That's a part of that's a part of the dysfunction. That's the part of dysfunction that our culture has perpetuated.
9 and 10 children and can't take care of them. Yes. And I don't care if you say that I'm judging, because I'm a taxpayer. And at the end of the day, my tax dollars is going wherever they need to go to. But the difference between me and them is that I want your child to do better. I'm not judging. I'm asking you to teach your child to do better. Why is that the plateau of where they should be getting to? The plateau is for them to get pregnant. Girl, bye. Get your ghetto stuff up on my face. And I don't care who don't like it.
No, that's real. That's real. I mean, you make a valid.
Go ahead. I gotta mute myself.
No, you make a valid point, sis, because that's the reality. I have a daughter who just turned 18 as well. And I taught her from as old as she could comprehend until now. The goal is to let God send you a good husband before you start making some babies. I talk to my children all the time about the struggle that I had raising them after their father chose not to be a father anymore.
I'm so sorry.
That's a lot of stress, financially, emotionally, and naturally. And so I talk to my daughter and even my sons about that. Like,
Thank
don't
you.
go making no babies. Don't go having sex. And see, that's the thing. We don't talk about that no more. Your body is precious. Your body is a commodity. Do not go out here giving your body to someone who does not deserve it and who does not plan on taking care of you. You understand what I'm saying? So I teach my son and my daughter, my sons and my daughter the same thing. Don't go out here having sex with somebody that you're not married to. Because even though marriage is not guaranteed, it does show you that that man or that woman loves you enough to enter into a commitment with you to be a family. And so I'm just saying, like, we have to teach them better. And even though I was not a teen mom, my sister was, my mother was, and that was a generational curse that I decided that I was going to stop. I was not going to be a teen mother. I helped take care of my sister's children before I was even all the way grown. So I understood that I was not going to repeat these cycles. And so when I had my first child, I was 23 years old and I married their father. You
I just
understand what
want
I'm
to know,
saying?
why is it a plateau? Why is that the plateau that your child have a child early? I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a teen mom. I guess if you consider 19 a teenager, it was after high school. I was a teen mom. But my issue is that, and I don't want to get off into too much into my personal experience, but let me tell y'all something. Like, I worked doubles as a nursing assistant. I put myself through school and I did other stuff on the side just to make sure that my son had what he needed to have. And my grandparents stepped in. This was not easy.
Mhm.
It was not easy.
But that's why
being
it
a
shouldn't be
mother.
but that's why it shouldn't be the plateau
But it is
for
in
them.
some cases.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be
And
because
it's
it's
unfortunate.
dysfunctional and you put your child in an unhealthy disadvantage. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because here's the thing, even like what you did for yours, sis, like at the end of the day, you don't want to have to do all of that and then miss time
No,
with your child because you can't
no.
even be in your child's life
I
like you
couldn't
used
raise
to.
him.
That's
I,
what I'm
I
saying.
left him with my grandparents
That's what I'm saying.
often because I was working or in the streets making money. This is what I say. We're not here to judge anybody because I have been in the life. But it still was very hard work. Why would anybody choose that for their child?
Yes.
Now, granted, thank God he's healthy, strong, awesome young man, smart, bright, like all of those things. But if I hadn't have done the work, he wouldn't be.
Right.
Let me get off of this because we can hit this next week. It's
That's
just
good. Yeah, we're at our time, so that's
good. Okay. The last thing I'm going to give y'all before we go is functional illiteracy. What do I mean? I mean that when you are illiterate and you communicate with your family members illiterate, and you don't really know how to communicate in the world, you don't know how to communicate your needs or anything. The breakdown between the man and the woman is because the man can't functionally communicate or literally communicate his feelings with the Black woman. And so there's a lot of assumptions going on. And then in the man's head, she talked too much. In the woman's head, he ain't communicating enough. Functional illiteracy. It is okay to be in touch with the woman that you love. It's okay to have your emotional side with her and communicate those things. I'm telling you right now, we get
it's
together.
Necessary.
Whoever you is, you're gonna lay your head in my womb. Period. It ain't no form of sorcery or nothing. I want you to lay your head where birth comes from. I will understand your pain. But functional illiteracy, not knowing how to communicate with one another or in the world. So we are often misinterpreted. And because we are misinterpreted, they only want to give us what they give us because they don't understand us. Because people are illiterate and they've learned how to function in that illiteracy. Girl, it's some people, and I ain't trying to listen. Somebody is gonna unfriend me today, but I ain't trying to come down on people from Chicago. But some of y'all talk weird to me. Like seriously, like I didn't. I mean, I'm from Minneapolis. I'm from the hood. I'm from North Minneapolis, but we all know the Midwestern states, like they were just Minneapolis was like way different from Chicago. So like some of the struggles that y'all had to go through, like the real projects and stuff, we have projects too, but they wasn't built the same. So when y'all come over to Minnesota and y'all talk a certain way, I'm like, what? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, sis. I would never tell my children to sit their mother effing so and so down. You mother effing B. You stanky AN. But not conduct. I'm not judging anyone. I don't think it's right. I'm not judging you. I don't think it's right. But some people that I've met from Chicago, I got friends from Chicago. That's how they talk to their kids. Period. And that's what their kids know.
I think it's the culture because growing up in the projects I grew up, you had that a lot. The parents definitely but again, I think that was out of their frustration, out of their own dysfunctions. And that's why I said to you, like, at the end of the day, and it's hard too, because people who have endured those dysfunctions and they carry them on, they feel justified. You understand what I'm saying? They feel like they ain't gonna do nothing but make them tough, but like that ain't your job to make them tough through dysfunction.
And does it make
what I'm saying?
Tough,
you
or does it make them illiterate?
It doesn't do either. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but they can't communicate. They can't communicate.
And I was blessed. I was blessed because my mom did not talk to us that way, even though, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of the moms did. My mom didn't talk to us that way.
I neither.
And my mom was a whole drug dealer and then eventually became an addict. And she never treated us that way. She stayed away from the home because of her guilt and embarrassment. She didn't want us to see her that way. So we dealt with more of like not having her around as opposed to seeing her strung out or seeing her or hearing or witnessing her acting crazy. Like she would just stay away.
So when she was those are my two for this week. Ways that we can combat the breakdown of the Black family: teenage pregnancy and functional illiteracy. We have to stop allowing our children to be illiterate and saying, okay, that's just the way we communicate. But it's not. Come on. We come from professors, like, and I don't mean in the United States of America, but I mean like our people built the pyramids. We don't have to communicate this way. Well, they can't communicate right.
Well, I guess my takeaways would be this. Number one, no matter where you come from, the environment, the culture, the parents, the community, re-educate yourself. That would be mine, is actually seeking re-education. And in this day and time, it is very easy to do. You have a whole internet full of information. And you can take online parenting courses. You can like literally, there's a book for everything. Like, re-educate yourself. That's number one. Number two, my second solution for how we can reverse this and correct this is women and Black women and Black men alike, hold yourself accountable to understand one another. Get yourself some therapy and healing, and decide what kind of woman or what kind of man you want to be and work toward that. Because personally, that is exactly how I changed my life and eventually changed the life of my children and even interaction with my spouse, all of that, because I at one point thought the only world that existed was the world that I lived in.
Yeah.
But I began to educate myself. I began to read things. I began to watch documentaries. I just began to search for something better.
Yeah.
And if you don't ever want something better bad enough to look for it, you will stay the same. And if you stay the same, you're going to continue to give the same and you're going to continue to receive the same. So
Yeah.
those would be my 2 takeaways for this week.
Yeah. Now that we've given you the takeaways, and let's just say you do decide to apply those. So basically you turn it on the water. Don't just leave it running without checking to see if it's going to overflow. Because when you leave water running in a faucet constantly, it causes erosion. Erosion causes buildup. Building causes overflow. Next thing you know, all that good water that you running is spilling over onto the floor. I know y'all like, I'm tired of her with these African proverbs. At the end of the day, check it. Check the faucet. Check the drain. Okay. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us today. I hope that it was good. I hope that it brought some thoughtful, provoking conversations, because as always, our job is to tell you our points of views and what we're seeing and hearing, in hopes that it will challenge you in your circle of people and your families, and that it will create dialogue among you. And, you know, in closing today, I really just want to say communication is the number one thing in any relationship dynamic that you need to be able to build, improve, maintain, or get better. So if you do not know how to communicate, like, that is an area that you also can receive therapy and counseling for. You understand what I'm saying? Some people just don't know how. So be patient with one another, be loving toward one another, but encourage healthy conversation. Men, you got to start talking. Women, you got to start talking, and not to attack one another, not to combat one another, but to understand. Communicate with the ability to understand. I just want to understand and learn how to listen, because a lot of times people will communicate, but they're only listening to you to attack what you're saying. They're not trying to hear or understand where you're coming from. And so that's even an area of therapy that you can do. There's books about how to communicate. There's YouTube videos about how to communicate. You can almost get therapy for everything on YouTube now, because there are actual therapists who understand that people can't afford it, and they do videos for free.
Yeah.
All of that. So if you really want change, you can find it, you can seek it, but you got to do something, because you can't continue the way that you are, because you're going to continue in the downward cycles and spirals, and you're going to continue to play into the hands of the enemy as he tries to destroy the Black race as a whole. So thank you guys so much for joining us today for part 1 of the agenda. And we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks so much. Shout out to Black Wall Street, Minnesota. Shout out to Candy Girls in Maplewood Mall. Shout out to Kayla Girls. Shout out to Young Phenom. We thank you for all of our business sponsors and supporters. We appreciate your love and support. Guys, have a good one.
I just wanted to say before you close it out, sis, our prayers go to Minnesota. Y'all know I'm from there.
Absolutely.
So we know that I think tomorrow is the closing argument
for Derek Chauvin.
Our prayers are going out to you. I couldn't make it there this weekend, but I know that I got some people, some friends on the front line. We're praying for you. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but whatever it's going to be, we're going to survive it. We always do.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate that has to be the punchline or the hashtag, but we always do. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
No, it's good. That's good. All right, y'all. Ditto. And if y'all need us, Minnesota, y'all give us a holler, because y'all know we'll be boots on the ground. We don't play no games. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Have a good one. This has been My Sister and Me LLC, and we'll see you next week for part 2 of the agenda. Have a great day.
Bye.